I am not a cultist. Please believe me. I am innocent. I am not a cultist. No.
Lakuku was the pride of his family. His father, a retired bricklayer with a bent back, had spent all his life lifting blocks and mixing cement under the scorching sun, so that one day his only son would rise higher than him. His mother, Mama Lakuku, was a trader who counted every coin carefully at the end of each market day, saving little by little. They lived in a modest house, but within its walls, hope burned brighter than any lamp. From the moment Lakuku received his admission letter into the university, the household shook with celebration. Neighbors gathered, drummers and women ululated in joy. Our son will be the first in this compound to wear a gown and cap, Mama Lakuku declared proudly. But beneath the joy, there was caution. On the very night before Lakuku traveled to campus, his father sat him down. The old man's hands trembled as he pointed at him. Lakuku, you are my only son. If you perish, my name perishes. Remember the path I walked. Do not bring shame to this house. Stay away from bad friends. Stay away from those boys they call cultists. They are darkness in human form. Do you hear me? Lakuku nodded, his heart swelling with determination. Papa, I will not disappoint you. I will study hard, and one day I will build you a big house. Later that night, Mama Lakuku placed her hands on his head and whispered prayers, her lips moving fast as tears slid down her face. She had heard stories of young men who went to university and never returned the same. Some returned in coffins, some returned with madness, and some never returned at all. When the day of departure came, she escorted him to the bus park with foodstuffs, bedding, and a heavy load of parental hope. As the bus pulled away, Mama Lakuku waved her wrapper frantically, her voice cracking. Lakuku, remember home. Remember your mother's words. The university was a world Lakuku had never imagined. Loud music poured from hostel windows. Students moved in groups, some with dreadlocks, some with expensive phones shining like torches in the night. Everywhere smelled of freedom, but also danger. At first, Lakuku buried himself in lectures. He was quiet, humble, and kept to himself. But slowly, loneliness crept in. He had no close friends. Sometimes he sat at the edge of the cafeteria, eating alone while laughter and banter exploded around him. It was there he first noticed them, a group of boys who walked differently from the rest. Their presence was commanding. People moved aside when they passed. Whispers followed them like shadows. They dressed sharp, spoke with authority, and always had a ring of admirers around them. One of them, a tall student with tattoos on his arm, noticed Lakuku's isolation. His name was Django, a ranking member of the feared Nighthawk confraternity. Brother, why are you always alone? Django asked one evening, throwing an arm across Lakuku's shoulders. You look like someone who needs family. Here, nobody survives without family. Lakuku forced a smile. I'm fine. I just came here to study. Django laughed loudly, his teeth flashing. Study? Books are good, but books won't protect you when your enemies rise. Books won't fight for you. When rival boys storm this hostel, look at us. We are Nighthawks. When we fly, the campus trembles. No one dares touch us. Lakuku chuckled nervously, unsure of what to say. He didn't want to be rude. From that day, Django and his friends began to call him out, sit with him, and share drinks with him. Lakuku felt a strange mixture of fear and belonging. He told himself he was not one of them. He was only hanging around them because he had no other friends. But little by little, his shadow began to merge with theirs. The university moved with a strange rhythm. In the day, the campus looked normal. Students rushing to lectures, lovers strolling under neem trees, the sound of lecturers raising voices in overcrowded hall. But when the sun dipped and the orange sky turned dark, the air changed. Fear came out with the night. In the hostels, whispers spread like wild harmattan fire. Last night, Nighthawk boys moved through Block C. Bloody vultures caught one black cobra near the sports field. Blood everywhere. No one slept peacefully. Even those not in cults kept one ear awake, listening for sudden running feet, for the scream of a victim, for the shouts of boys calling battle cries in the dark. Lakuku heard all this. He was not a member, but he was guilty by association. He had friends, Django, Bullet, Terminator, who were deeply in. Sometimes they pulled him along to night parties, to corners of the hostel where only coded knocks opened doors. He told himself, I am not like them. I will never take oath. But he was always there, standing behind them, laughing when they laughed, drinking when they drank. In campus life, that was enough to mark him. One Friday night, Django pulled him by the arm. Lakuku, tonight you go follow us to see something. They walked out of the campus gates to a bush path. The sound of crickets filled the night. A group of boys had gathered around a circle of fire. They stood there, half naked, their bodies painted with white chalk and ashes, red cloths tied on their heads, some holding bottles, some holding cutlasses. At the center burned a fire, flames licking the night sky like tongues of hungry spirits. They beat on drums, stomped their feet, and chanted in unison, Nighthawk, Nighthawk, death no dey fear us. A boy knelt in the center, shirtless, trembling. His eyes darted like a trapped goat. He was surrounded. One leader, tall and mean, lifted a gourd of palm wine mixed with something dark. He poured it on the ground, chanting strange words. Others responded with grunts. Repeat after me, the leader thundered. The boy stammered, swearing to be loyal, swearing never to betray. Then one of them brought out a blade. They cut the boy's arm, blood dripping into the earth. Cheers erupted. They forced him to drink from the gourd. Then came the drumming. Sticks on iron, boots stamping, boys dancing wild in the night. Lakuku stood beside Django at the edge of the fire circle, his face pale. He could not breathe properly. His heart pounded like the drum. He remembered his mother's voice. Avoid bad friends. They will drag you where you do not belong. But he stayed. He watched. He followed his friends back, his shoes stained with red earth. That night he couldn't sleep. The chants replayed in his head, the fire's glow still haunting his eyes. He told himself he wasn't a cultist. He hadn't taken the oath. He was just an onlooker. But already, the shadows were wrapping themselves around him. But the Nighthawks were not the only shadow haunting the university. Other groups, each more ruthless than the last, prowled the night. There were the bloody vultures, boys with red-dyed eyes who claimed no blade could cut them until they had tasted another man's blood. Their laughter was harsh and their violence unforgiving. Then came the black cobras, slim, silent, and venomous. They struck in the dark, their victims often found crawling in their own blood, whispering prayers to survive the sting. And looming above them all were the iron fangs, feared like a plague. They carried weapons under their coats. They did not fight to prove a point. They fought to erase an enemy. The weeks that followed were worse. Clashes exploded. Black Cobra ambushed a Nighthawk boy near the library. Broken bottles flying, machete flashing. Students screamed and ran. Later, the campus police came, but it was too late. One body was carried out, covered in blood. Lakuku was there, not fighting, but close. Too close. People saw his face in the crowd. His name began to mix with theirs. Another night, the bloody vultures stormed a birthday party. Bottles smashed, girls cried, boys scattered into the night. Lakuku was pulled by Terminator into an escape path. His shirt torn. Again, people saw him. Again, his face was there. In the market outside campus, parents whispered. In the chapel pits, preachers prayed against the spirit of blood. Fear covered everything like thick smoke. For Lakuku, the warning signs grew. He noticed lecturers looking at him strangely. A coursemate avoided sitting near him. Even in his hostel, neighbors muttered, "That boy, they move with them. Better avoid him." Still, he could not cut loose. He told himself, "I am innocent." But the shadow of guilt walked behind him. One Black Wednesday, it began like a rumor. They said the Nighthawks had killed 2 black cobras near the university gate. Others said it was the bloody vultures that struck first. Nobody knew who started it, but by evening, the whole campus was boiling. Students ran in every direction. Girls screamed and locked their doors. Boys jumped through windows. The echo of broken bottles, machetes clashing, and voices shouting filled the night air. Lakuku was in his hostel when Django burst in. Move! Move! Bloody vultures, they come! Run! His heart jumped. He followed without thinking. They rushed into the darkness, cutting through the bush path near the sports field. Shadows darted everywhere. Some boys held weapons, others only fists and sticks. Then it happened. One body fell, then another. A cry went up. They have killed him! They have killed him! Lakuku froze. He saw blood on the ground, a body twitching. The chaos spread like a fire out of control. Students poured out of hostels. Vigilantes at the gate shouted. People with torches chased shadows. In the madness, a hand pointed. That one! He is a cultist. He is with them. Catch him! Lakuku's chest tightened. He looked around. They were pointing at him. His face, already known, already whispered about. His heart crashed into his stomach. I'm not a cultist, he shouted, his voice breaking. I'm not one of them. But the crowd was already chasing. Feet thundered behind him. Torches flashed. He ran down the sandy road, his slippers flying off, his breath tearing his chest. Lakuku's legs burned as he dashed through the campus shadows, the mob's footsteps pounding like drums of doom. I'm not one of them, he gasped, but his voice was drowned by the frenzy. The air was thick with the scent of sweat and fear, mingled with the distant wail of sirens. He zigzagged past the library, where he'd spent peaceful hours studying, now a blurred monument to his shattered dreams. The pursuers were a ragtag bunch. Fellow students, some he'd shared classes with, twisted by grief over lost friends in the clash. Cultist, you'll pay for what your people did, one yelled. Lakuku's mind raced. How had it come to this? Just yesterday, he'd promised his mother a better life. Now, tragedy unfolded in real time. His innocence a fragile shield against mob justice. Catch him, voices roared. No escape, cultist, killer. He slipped into a thicket of bushes, heart pounding. For a moment, silence. Then, rustling. They were close. He burst out, heading for the main road, hoping for police or sanity. But the mob reformed. Angrier, they caught him near the gate as he stumbled. Fists flew, not lethal, but bruising. Rough hands grabbed him, pulled him to the ground. Dust filled his mouth as he cried and kicked. They dragged him into the open. Please, I'm not a cultist. I just knew them. I never joined. His pleas fell on deaf ears, echoing tragically amid the laughter of a few who found his desperation amusing, like a clown in a horror show. Someone brought an old tyre. They forced it over his head, down his waist, the stench of oil choking him. Lakuku's eyes bulged in terror. No! God, no! I'm innocent. The mob paused, some murmuring doubts, but rage won. Fetch the petrol and matches, one shouted. Two dashed off, leaving the rest to guard. In that suspended moment, Lakuku's life flashed his parents' faces, the university letter, Django's grins. The irony burned. He'd avoided the initiation's blood oaths only to face this ritual of death. The mob encircled him, phones flashing as some recorded the spectacle. Modern tragedy broadcast for likes. I'm not a cultist, he shouted again, voice cracking. A few laughed bitterly. Na so una dey talk, one sneered, mimicking his plea in exaggerated pidgin for comic effect, turning horror into dark farce. As minutes ticked, the two fetchers returned, one with a red keg sloshing petrol, the other fumbling matches. The smell hit Lakuku like a wave. Acrid, final. Lakuku's eyes widened in terror. His chest heaved. I am not a cultist. I am not a cultist, he screamed, tears mixing with dust. But no one listened. Anger had deafened them. Fear had blinded them. To the crowd, he was guilty. To the mob, he was the face of their pain, the symbol of their fear. One stepped forward and poured the liquid over Lakuku, soaking his shirt. Matches scraped, sparks flew. Stick on fire, but wind extinguished them. Laughter erupted, tragicomic relief in the tension, as if the universe teased mercy. Lakuku shook his head violently, choking on his tears. Please, I am innocent. I swear to God, I am not a cultist. Please. Sirens wailed distantly. Police? Hope flickered in Lakuku's eyes, but the mob pressed on, determined to enact their justice. Another match lit to a stick, the tip bloomed into flame, dancing ominously in the dark. Lakuku closed his eyes, whispering farewells to his dreams, family, life unlived. The flame trembled in one hand, ready to drop. The night froze. The crowd leaned forward. And then, boom! Lakuku screamed in pain and agony until a sudden silence. That night, after Lakuku's death, silence sat heavily on the campus. The streets that once echoed with shouts and footsteps now lay still. Hostels were locked, classrooms empty, and the air itself seemed to carry smoke and fear. By morning, whispers began. Some said they saw him cry. Others swore they heard his last words echoing in their ears. I am not a cultist, but no one could change what had happened. The ground where the tire burned was already black with ashes, a scar the rain would not wash away. Then came the policemen. They swept through the hostels and the backyards of the town, searching for the cult boys who had caused the chaos. Django was one of those caught. At first, he tried to deny, but when they pressed him hard, when the beatings broke his pride, he confessed, Lakuku wasn't one of us. Django said, his voice weak. He never joined. He only followed sometimes. He wasn't initiated. He wasn't Nighthawk or Bloody Vulture or Black Cobra. He was just a boy. The word spread like poison. Regret began to gnaw at hearts, but it was too late. The innocent had already been sacrificed to the anger of the mob. Far away, in a small compound, Lakuku's parents received the news. His mother collapsed on the floor, wailing, rolling in the dust. She beat her chest and tore at her wrapper. My son! My only son! She cried until her voice broke. His father, a quiet man who had worked all his life to see Lakuku reach the university, sat still. He said nothing. His eyes were wide, his breath heavy. Then suddenly, he clutched his chest and fell sideways. A stroke struck him like lightning. Neighbors rushed, lifting him, pouring water on his head, but his mouth was already bent, his words lost. The house that once dreamed of a graduate now carried only sorrow. Days passed. Lakuku's remain was buried in haste, his name whispered in pity, his story told in fear. Some students avoided the spot where he was killed. Others swore they saw his shadow near the hostel at night, walking silently with a tire around his shoulders. In the market, women gossiped. In a gathering, men shook their heads. And on campus, the cult boys still moved in shadows, hungry for revenge, untouched by the death of an innocent. Lakuku became a warning. Mothers told their sons, do not keep friends you cannot explain. Fathers told their children, do not walk with men who carry blood on their hands. But for his mother, no lesson could heal the wound. Her wailing voice often rose in the evenings, drifting through the compound, a song of grief that had no end.